Good afternoon, Scotland. Good afternoon, Glasgow. Hello to my fellow anonymous members up and down the country, over the border and overseas. Good afternoon to my friends and family. Good afternoon to all my social network friends as well, and supporters and close friends. My name is Richard, aka Retardo Fox, as I'm on the social network sites. And anonymous fellow members. Today, I'm here to bring you up to date on child abuse that has been implemented on my family. And as you probably see here, there's a wee photo of my wee sister, wee Michelle. As the image is behind me, wee Michelle, and you'll see on there it says Free Michelle. The reason why it says Free Michelle is because she's been held against her will and unlawfully incarcerated and a death unknown to us. But this state will not inform us of where she is because they shouldn't have took her. Now, it's on YouTube under Corrupt Glasgow City Council in Review 1 to 5. It will explain, and you'll see he's outside the Housing Association with a megaphone and a mask, and that will also be explained to you. And it's explained on Free Michelle on social network site and Facebook. You'll be able to see that. I'd like you to click, all documents are on there. And it's very much in the interest of the public, very much so, that we start to take note, because we are the people. And what happened to my family could easily happen to yours, and I hope to God that it doesn't. But I'll give you a 10-minute on this quickly. But you can watch it on there, it's on there. I'd like you to watch it and share it, please. But for my friends and family and fellow anonymous that already know the majority of it, but I'll reveal it again a wee bit. My wee sister was born in 1994. In a loving family in the middle of 1994. Healthy baby, her whole life ahead of her. But that would change drastically for her. And we wouldn't find out just exactly what happened. It took us 17 years to find out what happened. Mr. Dr. Quigley at the Thornley Bank Medical Centre, yes, Thornley Bank, took up the challenge, asked by they, and I will refer to them only as they, because I don't know who they are, but I know that they exist. Mr. Dr. Quigley gracefully accepted the challenge to find a child. He selectively profiled a family from his register of children that are attached to his register in that medical centre to him. And he profiled a family and he profiled a child. And he came across one. Me, Michelle, so he selected. He shouldn't do it to any children, and I'm sure you would agree. And I hope that if this would have happened, I don't hope that it would have happened to that child, but I hope that if it wasn't my sister, it was somebody else's child in 1995, you'd be putting up the same fight. That you'd be taking those steps. Because I don't want this to happen to any other child. And we the people, me, I'm asking you the people, to make sure that we can make sure that this does not happen again. Mr. Dr. Quigley had made sure he selected a child for this. And he had deadly toxic vaccines in his possession, passed through him, of multiple doses. And they were ready for my sister. Now, he had to make sure that we never knew that these were administered in. He had to make sure he done it secret and covertly. And that was easily done in the fact of the basis and trust. You trust your family doctor, don't you? Of course you do. Everybody trusts their family doctor. Although, I've got to clearly stipulate here that I make no reference to any other doctor in that medical centre. I do not make any other reference to any other doctor anywhere in the United Kingdom or any other medical centre. I can only make reference to one, and that's the family doctor, Mr. Dr. Quigley. Mr. Dr. Quigley then had to make sure that I never found out. So what did he do? Mr. Dr. Quigley concocted a weighing check session appointment to set the traps, didn't he? You may ask, how did he manage to put the vaccines into the child before you know? How did he manage it? He had to do it in front of me. Well, what he done is very simple. Is that he'd obviously asked the nurse that was attached to the medical centre in 1995 to assist him and they administered these vaccines covertly. So what he done was, is he sent a letter out to my mother, rain check, bring Michelle round, bring her round for a rain check session at 6 months old. A beautiful, healthy little girl had her whole life ahead of her. And my mother took her in. And all of a sudden, the nurse comes in, doesn't she? It's all premeditated, it's all set up. Mr. Doctor probably says if you'd like to hand Michelle to the nurse will take her in at the vision into another room for a rain check. But unfortunately that wasn't all that happened that day, folks. And if there was something, I very much doubt that she was actually rain checked. It would have been an insult to rain check her after destroying every toxic vaccines. So while the nurse was in with my sister, Mr. Quigley's given the illusion that he cares. How are you, etc, etc, etc. Knowing fine well as the seconds ticking by, my sister's life's running away. So, as the nurse took her in to the room, probably put her down, my wee sister. As you know, a 6-month-old child, the way they are, they're pure, they're beautiful, they're voiceless and defenceless, folks. That was the reason why he took her at 6 months. Because you had to make sure that the child could never talk. Because if a child could talk, the child would turn around and say to them, "I had needles put in my mum." You had to make sure that she couldn't talk. That's evil, isn't it? Everything done is evil. Everything in this case is evil. Everything in this case is evil. So while the nurse sat there, grabbing my wee sister's hands and injecting deadly toxic vaccines into her system, he knew he was harming her. The drug test was all based on harm. He had to make sure that he got the results, but at the same time, he had to lie to the mother. But you wouldn't believe who was involved in this, folks. You wouldn't believe who all took part in this. But I can't go on too much about it in this footage, but I will a wee bit. You may ask yourself, how did Mr. Quigley manage to hide her? Well, when she became 2 and 3 years old, she was due to go to nursery in Camlogic Primary School, 2.5 years after the attack on her. Mr. Dr. Quigley contacted Glasgow City Council on the phone. He said, "You have a Michelle that's due to start nursery shortly within your council jurisdiction." I said, "I wonder if you could hide her." Hide her? Well, obviously. It's a drug test, isn't it? Not meant to know. Can you hide her? Obviously Glasgow City Council at that time was controlled by Scottish Labour Party, had agreed to hide the child from Mr. Quigley. And they did. So for the first 2 years, Mr. Quigley said nothing. The child in nursery until 5 years old. And then the mother started to show a concern about her child. Then the mother went to Mr. Dr. Quigley with a concern at the age of 5 years old regarding the fact is that everywhere she went, she had to take a pad and a piece of paper. Even if she went to the shop, the mother said she had to take a drawing pad and draw things and draw animals and draw angry things that wee girls shouldn't do. And my mother took her to Mr. Quigley. Remember, we didn't want the vaccines, we didn't want about that. It took 2001 before we found that out. My mother took her and draw, blah, blah, blah. Mr. Quigley said, "Oh, she's a fantastic draw, don't worry about it, she's fine." My mother left. When she became 6.5, my mother took her back to Mr. Quigley with more concerns. By this time she started Camlogic Primary School and was in primary 2. And my mother took it to Mr. Quigley and she took a fit in the floor, panic attack, absolute petrified of the place. My mother said, "Why?" Who came out to save Mr. Dr. Quigley came out, didn't he? "Oh, just take her home, she's fine." She went home. My sister required to have dental treatment. And she had to go to the NHS. And he took her to York Hill. And she went in and back out. But I asked my mother, "Did they consultate me? Did they speak to you?" No, they didn't, obviously, because they weren't meant to. The NHS was already in the back pocket of the doctor. The doctor declared the NHS that on the medical record was a do not disclose. So the doctor, the NHS, was already told to lie as well, they were already involved. So my mother took her to the York Hill, in and out, they came and they took more teeth out with the sugar, and I'll explain the reason why they'd done that. So my mother took back, and they made a placing request to go from Camlogic Primary to East Renfrewshire Council to a school in there in the Thurlebank Primary School. Now if you look at the Free Michelle website 2016, you will see a photo of Michelle. And you will clearly see on that photo that she is incapable of carrying out or to protect basic for instance, to walk along a bench that any standard 3-year-old child could do. My sister couldn't do it. She required assistance from the teacher. But what you must understand is that the teacher were told not to say anything, they were to assess the child. That's disgusting, isn't it, folks? As you look at the photo, you see a mobility skills with an arm's apt, and like that tells you the brain damage to the child, and yet they still never flagged it up once again because they were never meant to. So you look at that photo on Free Michelle 2016, right? And then after that, she went to Wood Farm High School. But by the time she went to Wood Farm High School, my mother had already consistently went to Dr. Quigley again, who said there was nothing wrong. And then consistently went to the NHS, who said at the time there was nothing wrong. So while my mother's watching her child and concerned, these two bodies, the NHS and the doctor, are saying nothing, they were consistently lying to the mother. And then when she went to Wood Farm High School, my wee sister started to severely develop horrific physical injuries. Her body was meant to stretch from a child as the way that you normal children would develop, from a child to a teenager and fill out and develop and fill out. She didn't do that. She started to develop horrific injuries, and my mother was gravely concerned. Now, on Free Michelle website, you'll see document Beard like to bring to your attention. It's the end of 2006 and 2007 school reports for Wood Farm High School. I'd like you to scroll down, go for the bottom, physical education, and look at how it's mapped. Then I want you to look at that photo, and you'll say to yourself, that's impossible. Of course it's impossible. These school reports are fraud. So while my mother was consistently going to doctors and continuing, Wood Farm High School, which she was in, was concocting these level of results were impossible. East Renfrewshire Council had agreed to oversee the further assessment of this drug test for Mr. Quigley, and also who he was acting on behalf, as I referred to as they. And then we found out in 2011 at the doctor's meeting, and the father took the child round to Mr. Quigley, and she was horrifically disabled at the age of 17 and a half. And asked Mr. Quigley, what is wrong with my daughter, Mr. Quigley? Mr. Quigley then mentioned autism, that's a little bit. But there's a reason for that. It's not autism she has, it's something far, far, far worse than multiple doses. Far worse than autism. Autism, for instance, you know autistic children are, what it affects in children physically is that they normally become obese, they put weight on. And yet for autism it would only be the fact that their mobility skills are slightly affected. But autism is basically a neurological condition that my sister is absolutely destroyed. But Mr. Quigley told her real lie he's not qualified to make when he mentioned autism. But that was good enough for us to find out that she'd been vaccinated. That was good enough for us to find out she had needles in her system. Because the next question after that was, Mr. Quigley, when were these vaccines given, Mr. Quigley? Mr. Quigley replied 1995, when check session. Now he's told, do you take it you've got signatures of consent for these vaccines, Mr. Quigley? He says, we don't work like that. Now, having on the Thornback Medical Centre's website, and it clearly states that no care or treatment will be given without the informed consent of the parents. You've got to ask, but he had no intention of asking folks. We were never to find out the needles were even in her. It's the reason why he didn't go there. So if you understand that action of premeditated destruction of a human life, because my sister's incapability of leading a normal life is less than 10%. But she attended Wood Farm High School and produced these school level results, and she can speak fluent French, etc., etc., etc. While East Renfrewshire Council had agreed with my mother made the placing request in 2002-2003, Glasgow City Council had obviously approached East Renfrewshire Council and said, look, this is a drug test. He said, I don't know why they took part, I don't know why they agreed, or they probably regret it now, very much so, after what they ended up they had to try and do later on down the line, East Renfrewshire Council. But yeah, they agreed that at that time there wasn't any physical, remember? The physical. When the child was asked to develop, that's asking the brain to work to develop the child. The brain was damaged, the brain was destroyed. That's the reason why our physical appearance started to become more apparent. All the complications because of the damage to the brain due to the vaccines. So, they agreed to take part in it, didn't they? It's okay, it's fine. 2 reasons why they agreed to take part, I can imagine. One, she's not disruptive. As you would see in autistic children, some of them you can't control them, they're very erupting, etc., etc. But my sister's encased in her mind of her own. She's encased in her mind, and she's very withdrawn and doesn't say anything. So that was one of the bases, the reason why they agreed to take part. Was it the fact that they told her it's okay, she's quiet, it's easy to hide, don't worry about it. There was no physical at that time, remember that, note that. And obviously the second reason was you have our assurances. Glasgow City Council and the Scottish Labour Party that ran our council in Glasgow had given East Renfrewshire Council the assurances that outside this school, no matter where the mother goes, she will never find out. So all East Renfrewshire Council had to do was lie to the mother, and that's what they've done with these school reports. Because she's incapable of doing that. She shouldn't have been there. But they knew that themselves and they didn't agree to hide it. So, they'd agreed to take part. They had the assurances outside the school, outside blah blah blah, the home, the hospitals, they were all lying. They knew they were out in the back pocket. So all they had to do was lie to the mother. And Michelle got to the age of 15 years old, horrifically disabled, I says to my mother, "Did you go to the school?" "Yes." My mother informed me that she went to Woodfarm High School. That was the last thing they wanted to do. These school reports were concocted as a subliminal message to the mother. Everything's fine at the school, your daughter's doing fine, she's perfect. There's no reason for you to come here. That's what it was to give to the mother. One of my mother's gone left, right and centre, consistently with concerns about a child and crying in the home, what's wrong with my child? She's concocting these. But the fact that the mother went to Woodfarm High School when she was 15 should tell you immediately that if your children is concocting these levels, producing these level of results, document A and B folks, there'd be no reason for the mother to go to the school with concerns with her child, but she did. And she went in, the concerns, and guess what they said to her? I couldn't believe when I heard it. What she was told was, if you feel now, you yourself feel there's something wrong with her, take her to the doctor. Take her to the same doctor we're hiding from, we're assessing her from. That's a teacher, folks, that's a member of staff at Woodfarm High School. All because they're controlled by the council. They've got to follow their orders. See, at that time there was only 3 of them, folks. A triangle. NHS, doctor, school. All consistently lying. Yeah. Wow. For nearly 13 years. And after they found out about their vaccines, Mr. Quigley started to rabble during that interview, that appointment. There's no proof that your vaccines had damaged your child, the proof is already proven, Mr. Quigley. Then Mr. Quigley turns in and says, there's no point in taking it any further than this office. Now he said damage as well, and that's the first time I heard damage. First time ever anybody's ever mentioned it. Damage, you've destroyed him, Mr. Quigley. How dare you? What sort of a person are you, Mr. Quigley? What sort of a human being would deliberately destroy a child? Do you understand? Now people, if we'd done that, people, we'd be jailed and lynched. And if we'd done that in our own areas, in our own domain, the people round about us, they wouldn't be long before the transit vans were out, would they? You'd be gone, and rightly so for doing that to a child. But a doctor, oh yeah, he's fine, doctor can do that. Yeah, no problem, no you can't, Mr. Quigley. But you done it, Mr. Quigley. And all the ones that took part in abusing the child, Mr. Quigley, up to 2011, folks, is what I'm telling you. And after 2011, just briefly, then we tried to get her into the system, and they were hiding and consistently hiding. And then they tried a massive benefit fraud on her, folks. And that wasn't successful. All documents of benefit fraud are on there for you to see in Michelle 2016. And then when the benefit fraud wasn't being accepted, they tried to do a fake court for them, and that would never work. And then when they realised that that didn't work, then their last chance to attempt to benefit fraud to re-hide her again, and that didn't work. Then they had no choice, they all sat and had a meeting, folks. Yeah, they had a meeting. somewhere between the end of October 2013 and the 11th of November. And the Glasgow Housing Association were involved in it, they were at that meeting. See, my mother stayed in her property between May and November without a penny to live on because of the benefit fraud they were trying. Glasgow Housing Association sat back and supported this. Police Scotland, as you would know, police came and abducted my sister, on the 14th of November 2013. They watched my mother going out the door and the GHA drilled that door, folks. Glasgow Housing Association, your landlord. Now if this happens, if this abuse that I hope doesn't happen again has happened, then what I'm explaining to you today is what you could face and what you've got to go through in an attempt to obtain justice for your child and more importantly freedom of your child. See, my sister's held somewhere against her will. She was 18 years of age. She wasn't a penny of benefit because they were hiding her. She wasn't on the try to re-hide her again through the benefit system, and I would not allow them to do that. I didn't know what she was suffering for because the state decided that we weren't to know. What they were trying to say to us was, folks, is that you will never find out what she's suffering from. You found out that we used your child and we abused your child with deadly drugs. You found out that the schools had been hiding her and assessing her for the doctor. You found all that out, but you're not getting justice. They stopped the lawyers on us, folks. We couldn't get a lawyer in the UK, yes. See, this isn't a routine case, folks, of breach of the peace, something trivial. This is child abuse, destruction of a human life and covered up by the whole system, and stolen and kidnapped by police. And they stopped the lawyers. It takes something like this to stop the lawyers. Now it's funny enough, isn't it? Because you look at it just now, you've got child killers, you've got sex offenders, paedophiles, and all other vermin in society. As a wee class of we, the people, yes. And they can all get access to lawyers, and they can all get access to legal aid if nearly result of £1 million. But my mother finds out about a child being used for drug testing and destroyed a human life and been lied to systematically for, at that time, would have been 17 years. She can't get a lawyer. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? But when they came and abducted my sister, they knew fine well they couldn't get a lawyer. They knew fine well when they done that. The reason why they came for this. They came for the evidence, folks, that had been painstakingly collected for over 2 years, and it's on Free Michelle 2016 for you to see. Yeah, they tried to come for that. See, there was a meeting took place before the 11th of November 2013. It wasn't until after the kidnapping of my sister who was present, etc., that I worked it out very simply that they had a meeting. Why would they have to have a meeting if they could just go to court? They couldn't go to court, that's one thing you've got to understand. The evidence is on them clearly confirmed that to you, that they could never go to a court because they do not have a court document. Every of these documents that you will see on Free Michelle 2016 are all manufactured fraud. That was meant to work and didn't work, unfortunately for them. But I was always steps ahead of them, and I knew that just months before it, I knew it would come for me, Michelle. While my wee sister's sitting there absolutely destroyed, folks, her hopes, her dreams are all gone at the end of a doctor's needle. But they put in her 1995 by this. Did my sister have the entitlement? Did she have the right, folks? Did she have the right to have a life? Did she have the right to maybe obtain these level of results? Yes. Did she have a right to have a job? Yes. Did she have a right to have a family? Yes. Did she have a right to socialise? Yes. Did she have a right to drive a car? Yes. Did she have a right to have a child? Yes. Experience love? Yes. Did she have a right to spend money, make money? Yes. But she can't do that. That was all taken away from her. And yet she went to mainstream high school. She can't do that. Her quality of life was less than 10%. And I watched her develop. And what I seen, I could not believe my eyes. But what you've got to understand is we knew what they'd done to her then. We just needed to know when and why at that time. We knew something was wrong. It's not rocket science. But the time came, as I said, in 2011, the doctor was found out. Do you know what he's done? When the fire left and said, I will be back, Mr. Quigley. The doctor knew he was going to see if we got a lawyer, obviously. You know, as it tells you, you've got a right to lawyers, haven't this country? Yes, you have a right to allege your human right, yes. Dr. Quigley on the phone to Glasgow City Council. The same council he phoned 13 years before to hide the child. He phoned them up and says, we've been found out. Now this is the father, and he knows what we've done to his daughter. You'll have to stop the lawyers. And that's what Glasgow City Council done. Glasgow City Council and the Scottish Government then stopped the lawyers. Bang. That's the first act of self-protectionism, is to stop the lawyers. And that's what they done. So we had their hands tied behind their back. And then over the years they tried a massive benefit fraud attempt on her. Behind the mother's back to try and con her, to try and embezzle through a deception. Now if we attempted that, perverting the course of justice, intent to embezzle through deception, child abduction, we'd be jailed for that, folks. We'd be absolutely hauled upon a court of law. But we can't get to a real court, just pantomimes and charms that we get to. But unfortunately for them, their fake court that they tried didn't work for them. It was concocted by a lawyer of M2U00104 solicitors that my mother was given a car for in early January, just 10 months before they abducted her. Yes, M2U00104 solicitors based in Glasgow deal with medical negligence and guardianship. My sister wasn't in the system at all. My mother had to try and, it's never been heard of, is it? Guardianship, to try and get her into the system. It's never been heard of. But she did. She went to this lawyer, Carol Davis. But we knew we couldn't get a lawyer. And you're probably saying to yourself, well, why go then? Because I needed the proof to show you. And that she gave us. She went to the same doctor. This lawyer went to the same doctor in the same NHS. In the same social work department that were trying to felicitate benefit for my mother and harass her. She kept it within Glasgow and she went outside Glasgow for an assessment of the child, but we knew that. And we told her, but we still let her continue. So we just painstakingly corrected the documents. Now you will see documents on there for you, Michelle. You will see legal aid documents. You will see a letter from Carl Davis saying, congratulations, your legal aid successful. They're fraud documents, folks. You can get a lawyer. And they can't get access to legal aid because they're stopped the lawyers at the request of Mr. Dr. Quigley, who was caught destroying the child. So all these documents you will see are all manufactured fraud. Now, when they came and took her, they watched my mother going out the door. They were desperate. I wasn't going to re-hide her again except benefit fraud. What they were trying to say it was, as I explained, you're not getting justice for your child, you found out it was done. And this is the Scottish Labour Party. This is this country. This is your Murphy and Co. and your Matheson and Co. Now your old guard are gone now, aren't they? And they're replaced by Kaysa Dugdale, who obviously is a lawyer. She's a new guard of the Scottish Labour Party. So, they came and they took my sister, and they said they had warrants, but never showed one. They could never ever go to court for one. That was the funny thing about it is. They could never go to court. Oh, we've got a warrant, blah blah blah. And then they sent a letter through the next day saying, we were advised that we were given a warrant in Glasgow Sheriff Court. Hold on a minute. What is it? You've got to show warrants. They could never ever produce warrants, folks. They came for the evidence. Jacqueline Jenkins, who was meant to be assisting my mother, was a corrupt social worker that was colluding with the doctor who destroyed the child and colluding with the lawyer. They were all colluding together at Glasgow City Council, but we already knew that. That's the reason why I got rid of that. They came for this. That's what they wanted. But the Glasgow Housing Association were more than willing for my mother to lose her daughter for the rest of her life in order to try and save their friends. The police who attended that day was East Renfrewshire Council Police from Gifford Police Station, or Barhead Police Station. These are the same police officers that are controlled by the council, so they obviously had an interest in it. And as I could say, there was a meeting took part somewhere between the end of October 2013 and 11th November. And who was at that meeting? It's very simple for me to tell you who was at that meeting. Delegates from East Renfrewshire Council were there, Glasgow City Council were there, possibly the Scottish Labour Party were at that meeting, the Glasgow Housing Association at that meeting, Jacqueline Jenkins and Leslie Anderson would have been at that meeting. Oh, we talked about this. Police Scotland would have been at that meeting. Angela Carter, you were probably at that meeting, Angela Carter. So, they were all talking about what are we going to do? Because we can't break this family down. They're not accepting benefit fraud, their fake courts didn't work. What are we going to do? How can we break this family? And nobody turned around and said, I can imagine it said, Jacqueline Jenkins, who went to assist them, I had to make sure she wasn't seen that day. She had told me about the school reports because I told her she's the only person that's ever seen this evidence. And I told her about them at the Roswell Centre in the middle of the year. So she's the only one that's seen them. So she's in back then and said, I've seen the school reports. And he knows what he's talking about. They know. So that why he distracted his counsel. Imagine, so they turned and said, right, okay, we've got to make sure the mother's not in. My mother wasn't a penny a benefit for 7 months for a severely disabled child. That's the reason why you understand. Because they took part in the abuse of my mother. They didn't assist her to go on the proper benefit. They were told to ignore the existence of the child. And that's the reason why they sat back. My mother sat with no money. That child was severely disabled without a penny to live on, yet they came and drilled the door 7 months later. So, they sat and watched my mother go out. My mother went over to her friends and family on the 14th of November 2013. They sat at that door and they waited in a car. They had to wait until she was far enough away and they came. Police Scotland knew fine well, as I said at the meeting, they could never go to a court. No sheriff in the land could ever give them a warrant or a document to remove the child. They couldn't even fake a warrant, folks. They were desperate. But the only way they could do that is if they get this evidence. If they'd get this evidence, folks, I can assure you that happened. They would have re-engineered her whole history and documentation. And then a sheriff would have signed them a warrant. That's what would have happened. That's what would have happened. And what would I have been able to show you? I wouldn't have been able to sit here and tell you about it. But what would I have been able to show the sheep out there? Or is there one that ever took you? I thought I was mad. Oh, I'm not mad, folks. But I don't have any documents from my court because they can never exist. No lawful court is aware of my system of existence, folks. That's the reason why the image behind me. Show me the warrant. But police took her and continues to lie later on, and that's why we're here now. And I haven't seen her for 2.5 years. And if there's any questions, as I said, you can email me on Michelle 2016. So, we've got to fight to get her free, folks. We can't have this system thinking that they can drug test in our children with deadly toxic vaccines and hiding the whole system for almost 17 years. And a further 2 years later, when you're trying your hard to find out what she's suffering from, this Dr. Lawyers, they can't abduct her, using Police Scotland. And GHA drilled the door. Absolutely disgusting, folks. Abuse of this child. And we have to make sure that we are the people that this does not happen again. We have to make sure we stop this. But as I said, everything's on there. If you want to know, on YouTube and on Michelle 2016. There's something that I'm actually reasoning why I think it's very important. Name person. I've been watching this and slowly implemented into this country, and I'm very concerned about this name person. Because these people, the name person that they're going to put on your child, are the same people that abused my sister. A total contradiction. We've got to make sure, as they say, got to make sure that every child is brought up and has the best start in life. I agree with that. But when I say I agree with it, I mean that. When you say it's lies. Why? Because of this. Because you sat and abused a child to protect a doctor that destroyed her. You took part in one of the most horrific abuses cases that I've ever imagined. On a child, an innocent child. And there's no fairness here, folks. There's no fairness here. This was all premeditated fraud. From 1995, and it's still ongoing. She's been held against the law. We've got to get her free, folks. We've got to get her free. And we can do it, we are the people. So this named person, they're going to put a vulture onto your child. I don't think we know the severity of this named person. Firstly, it's not fit for purpose. Secondly, it's tyranny. That's what it is. Tyranny. As people would say when it was first implemented, this was first introduced by the Scottish Labour Party while they were abusing this child. This first came mentioned to us. There's pilot schemes out with Glasgow in the Highlands, far as I'm aware, that there was pilot schemes were introduced out the road to see how it was going. But now it's starting to seep, folks, it's starting to seep to the people. It's starting to seep to you. We've got to stop this. This must be stopped. We cannot allow these people to think that they own your children. Because when you go to the NHS and you have your child, it's not in your hospital, it's their hospital. When you have your child, there'll be a voucher immediately allocated to your child just days after birth. The state will now own your child. You see, you can take your child home, right? You can take your child out of the hospital, and you can take her home, and you can go and visit your parents and family and friends around, and you can bath your child, and you can go and buy her clothes, and you can do everything else. But see, when it comes to making decisions for your children, that's taken out of your hands. And see, if you object in any way to these decisions, you're going to soon know about it. And if you still object, then they're going to use that against you. And then eventually they will come and take your child. But there's a difference here, folks. Because in my case, it was an abduction. Cold, premeditated, kidnapped a child with no sanction of a court. Where, under this named person, there will be a warrant to take your child. Under the basis that you're not acting in the best interest of the child. That's what they're going to use. And I forecast very much that there's going to be a lot of stories in the media. There's going to be a lot of tears. There's going to be a lot of children being taken from their families. Now this named person, nonsense, as far as I'm concerned, is not fit for purpose. And the evidence that I have proves it. This was only concocted on the back of multiple failures of children. There has been many children over the last few years that have suffered and died. But they keep telling us the failures, don't they? The social work departments, they could have done this, they could have done that. It wasn't mine, there was a child that went to the hospital, wasn't it? Nearly 12 times, was it? With all sorts of bruises. How was that child allowed to go back to the family? And eventually that child suffered and died. But then the other days keep coming out, don't they? They keep coming out and making statements, we're sorry, we've got to make sure this doesn't happen again, it shouldn't have happened at all. So don't bother concocting this tyrannical legislation in your country on the back of your failings, because you're not fit to make decisions for your children when you support the destruction of children, like this wee girl. You support that and then you come out and you turn this, you try to cover this up, folks, by taking this. But I was already ahead of them, and that's the reason why I got rid of it, because I knew how vital it was, I knew how desperate they were. That's the reason why Jacqueline Jenkins stood down at the bottom of the stair. This is a social worker in Perth, and an MHO officer, you'll see the documents. And she had a worried look in her face, and I looked at her and I said, I know why you're here. It's gone. She was very worried, because there was people waiting all that day at that meeting. Did you get our documents back? No, we didn't get them. Well, we didn't get them in. So all they're doing is ignoring them. Main person on the back of failings, previous failings of children that have ended up losing their lives because social workers have not done their job properly. Don't bother installing tyranny in the people, folks. See, you've got to understand, you have a large amount of people in this country that want freedom and independence. For instance, you have Nicola Sturgeon. On one hand, he's talking about independence, people think it's freedom. And then on the other hand, she's implementing tyranny through no person. Doesn't compute, folks. You can't have freedom on one hand and tyranny on the other hand. It doesn't work out like that. You've got to take one or the other. Freedom won't be obtained without the voice of the people. But I don't want this no person legislation to be fully implemented. I care for the children, the future children of our country, and the children for the next 50 to 100 years. We've got to make sure that we are the people that we protect our children. These people are not fit to make decisions for our children, especially when they support this. Now the Scottish Government are stopping us from accessing Nicola Sturgeon. Nicola Sturgeon, our First Minister, I wrote to Nicola Sturgeon in the back of 2015. I got a reply from the Scottish Government. Thank you for your letter to Nicola Sturgeon received in March the 10th, 2016. Your letter has been passed to the relevant Earth response and the Scottish Government aims to respond to you within 20 working days. I didn't write to you, Scottish Government. I wrote to Nicola Sturgeon because I demanded to see Nicola Sturgeon to present this evidence of child abuse by vaccination, child kidnapping, benefit fraud and everything else that goes with it. But I did approach her in 2013 and she turned her back on us when she had a chance to deal with it. And it wasn't a local issue. Nicola Sturgeon never say this was national fraud and abuse and child abuse and you turned your back on us then. And then the Scottish Government sent a letter back. I have to go to the Ombudsman. Excuse me? I've never been insulted in my life. You have to go to the Ombudsman. But actually the Scottish Government are telling you they condone this abuse. They condone the attacking this child. More than 20 years ago. They condone everything in this. They support this. And what they're actually saying is you're not getting to see Nicola Sturgeon. Nicola Sturgeon should be protected in this evidence. But I'm just one wee person, folks. Just one wee family. It's easy to ignore a family, isn't it? But do you think we'll ignore a city? Do you think we'll ignore a city, folks? A whole town of people that are frightened and are concerned for this named person, because I'm aiming out for the named person as well. Because I don't want him on. Do you want him on your children? Do you want to be scared hiding behind your door? Do you want to hear the jogging on your door, the batting on your door as you keep your door closed? You're trying to protect your child from him being taken? Because that's what we did. But I knew he could never go to court to do it. Because it's a special case, this child. But you happen to you, if you don't conform to any of their requests, it takes away your right to object. What they're saying is, you will make decisions for your child. They will own your children. And I will not put up with that. And I don't expect the people of our country and of our cities to also put up with that. Now, I'm aware that there is a named person roadshow, and that's good. It's good to see that this roadshow is going up and down and touring Scotland, raising awareness of tyranny. And people are signing these petitions. I think the petition's at 13,000 signatures now to say no. To object in the Supreme Court. I want to banish this no person. You don't own the children. But I want to make sure that it's absolutely destroyed. And it's not, because it isn't fit for purpose. The named person, all these signatures may not be successful in getting this banished. But I tell you what will be successful in ending this named person. Totally eradicate it, it's gone. This will end the named person. The evidence is on Free Michelle 2016. I can't get to a court, I can't get anywhere near a court. I've been to fake courts, sham pantomimes, under the guise of Glasgow Sheriff Court, when it's actually just been a pantomime, but I already knew it was a pantomime before I walked in, and it was exposed as a pantomime while I was in the confines of that building. But you're going to the Supreme Court, in person, but you're only going in with verbal objection. You're not going in with hardline evidence that proves that it's not fit for purpose. You can take this into your Supreme Court. But in the meantime, we need to raise awareness in the people of our city. That's what we need to do. We need to raise awareness. We need to all stand together. But more importantly, I'm asking that every man, woman and child that's within our areas, Glasgow, out with Scotland, people who see this child and thinks that this is a beautiful wee girl and not a laboratory rat that Mr. Quigley thought was in 1995. So you think here that there's nothing wrong, she was brain damaged here. The vaccines are already in her system then. Probably 3 or 4, maybe 6, 7 years old. She was brain damaged. That's why the mother ought to be concerned to go to the doctor. She was living a lie, folks, because she'd been hidden by the whole system. Nicola Sturgeon's turning her back. See, Scottish Labour Party, as I explained, passed the baton for no person. They brought it in, and then all of a sudden, when they knew that the votes were going to be changing to the Scottish National Party, with a changeover in power, where we the people voted for Nicola Sturgeon, the in-person legislation was passed to Nicola. Right, Nicola, you continue it, and that's what she's done, she's continued it. People are confused, but why? Because they're both the same party. The Scottish Labour Party and the Scottish National Party are both the same party. Yeah, they are. And that's the reason why they've passed this to Nicola Sturgeon. Also, this is now in the hands of Nicola Sturgeon. She's now protecting all these people that abuse my sister. She's also protecting the doctor who destroyed my sister. She's protecting East Lincolnshire Council, who covered up and lied for all those years. All these people are all being protected at the moment by Nicola Sturgeon. So she supports drug testing of children, the destruction of children. She's the same person who's bringing in this no person. So we've got to make sure that every child's born, if you've brought up health, we've got to make sure that every child deserves the best start in life. But that's the same First Minister. They're supporting the destruction of one human life. One human life is enough. One is one too many, as far as I'm concerned. No child deserves this abuse on them. But you weren't meant to know that, folks, the same as us until we found out. It's unbelievable, but our resistance has forced this system to reveal itself as nothing but a sham. As you would see in the Scottish Parliament supports this abuse. The Scottish Parliament is one where you get your legal aid. They will decide what case, what lawyer, depending on what case you have. It's not just a run-of-the-mill breach of the peace and assault charge or a fraud charge. This is absolute state, absolute abuse of a child. And we will never to get a lawyer. So when you see those letters on there of the legal aid documents from Parliament, they're false, they're fake, concocted by the corrupt lawyer of New York, Carol Davis. But we already knew that, we had to go. But when the Scottish Government are blocking us from seeing Nicola Sturgeon, Nicola Sturgeon is not to see this. She doesn't want to see this, it's not to be in her hand. But you understand why? Because she's bringing in something that would be destroyed with her. She can't look at this and deal with this and bring in a new person, you understand? But I need you, the people. I need the people out there who recognise what happened to this wee child could have happened to your child, and we've got to make sure it doesn't happen again. But I want the people out there to take to the streets now. I do not see any violence or anarchy in the streets. I do not condone violence. I do not also want violence. But I need the numbers, I need people on the street now. Because I'm doing it not just for Michelle, for the freedom of how you're doing it for the future of the children. You're doing it for the children when we're not here. That's what we're doing it for. They don't own our children. They didn't own Michelle to destroy her and put vaccines in her. They think they can do that, and they think they can do it again. And that's not going to be allowed, folks. But I need you in the street, people. Every man, woman and child. I need you on the street. The quicker, the sooner you realise that this system doesn't care for you, your children. And the quicker you are going to take to see. What's it going to take? There's a definitive line. You look at, for instance, Brazil and other, you look at France. They don't like to show you in the media, do they? They don't want to show you there's anarchy in other countries and people stand up, because in their country we don't really have much. There's far too many people in this country think your country's a great country. Our country's not. Our country's in its knees. Our country's in a dire situation and it's dying slowly, and tyranny is now being quickly and swiftly put in the back door. Now you can't ask for freedom when you own your children. That's silly. You can't possibly even think of that. We want freedom and independence, but at the same time you own your children, you can't make decisions for your children. And if you object, they lie to you. Do you want that, folks? No, I don't want that. But I'm asking every man, woman and child in our city and in our country of Scotland to be a voice for this child. Look at her as though she's one of your own. Imagine what she went through. And do you think that that's right what that doctor done? Because it's alright for him just to ignore us. There's two bodies, but can he ignore a city? Can he ignore a whole city in gridlock? As I said, I don't seek violence. I seek voices. I want people to put their feet in the ground and raise their voices for me, Michelle. She's a human being, folks. Like your children. She deserves to have a life. And I'm asking you now, folks. We've got to come together. We've got to unify. If we stand united, we'll win. If we continue to be brainwashed and divided, we'll fall. Now we have Labour voters and SNP voters, and that divide between us. You've got to break that divide down now. Because if you have one party that supports the destruction of children and the other one supports uplifting, then you've got the same party. It's awful silly, isn't it? I think it's time now that we stood together in this city and we started to raise our voice. There's other cities, there's other countries that overthrow their governments because they've decided they've got by the breaking point where they've had enough and they've went. And they've filled the streets, you see it. They fill the streets, the media won't show you here, but they fill the streets and overthrow governments because they've decided enough is enough. When are we going to have that in this country? When are we going to decide enough is enough? I think it's now, folks. I think it's now, especially when it involves our children, the future of our children. And me, Michelle, she's been held unlawfully against her will, and I haven't seen her for 2.5 years. Her mother's waiting for her. And the reason why we took her is very simple, because we wouldn't re-hide her. What they were saying was, folks, is that you're getting no justice for that child you found out we done. Now go away. This is the same system that said it owns your children. This is the same system that said we've got to look after your children and we'll oversee your children to make sure. That's an absolute contradiction, folks. As I seen Nicola Sturgeon just last year making that speech, you will not do fracking, you will not experiment in our lands. But it's okay, Nicola, to destroy children, experiment deadly toxic vaccines in our children and destroy human lives. It's fine to do that, Nicola, is it? Judge with the fact that you've turned your back, and this obviously is, yes, it's an absolute hypocrisy. From Nicola Sturgeon. The same Nicola Sturgeon that just 4 to 6 weeks ago, was it? Maybe less than that. I seen holding the babies, the two of them. Did you see it on the news? I was in my friend's house at the time when I seen that. I couldn't believe what I seen. I mean, they've got to be joking. That's to give you the illusion that Nicola Sturgeon cares for you and your children. She doesn't care for your children, folks. If she cared for her children, she would have looked at this and she would have dealt with it, and I wouldn't be here. I would still be here, yes, of course, but she would have dealt with this. She would have dealt with this. I would have had Michelle home with her mother. We would have had her assessed for the absolutely catastrophic injuries that she suffered that was covered up by East Renfrewshire Council and Co. And the child abducted by the police to protect all of them. Yes, I would have had her home. We would have had her assessed and we'd have had a lawyer. So we've got to get out in the street, folks. We've got to fill the streets, not just for Michelle, but the future children. And if this has happened to you, this is what you've got to do. You've got to do this. As I say, I do not seek verbal praise for it as though it's appreciated. What I'm asking for the people is that you come and you join me in the streets and we banish this named person legislation out the window, we blow it out the window. And roadshow, you take this to your court or whatever it is you're going to appeal to, hand your signatures in. Because signatures may not be successful. Hardline evidence will be successful. This will blow this named person away, and the children and the people don't have to feel threatened at their homes. I had someone this morning contact me with showing concerns about being threatened by the social work department because they're starting to threaten her because she wasn't conforming. Is that what you want at your homes, folks? Do you want your door to go, or even worse, to be drilled? But this time these people will come with paperwork because it's going to be law. Law? We've got to stop it, and it can be stopped. But when you take your child I got to the war whenever the child had caught mine. But I don't want to see people experiencing their children being taken to their homes, just like I witnessed that day on the 14th of November 2013 in corrupt police Scotland. Absolutely criminals took my sister away, not to protect the doctor that destroyed her. I'm not going to accept that. And I hope to God today, if you watch this footage and support me, folks, because she's no any different for your child. She's no any different for the future children. She had the right to live, and I'm sure you would agree. We can't have these people coming into our domains at our levels and testing drugs on our children. As I said, I don't have proof of any other doctor doing it, or any other medical centre, which I can't wait any for that. That happened here. They think they can do that and at the same time say they care for their children. They're not going to implement in the back of their failings. That's not going to work. I know exactly what they're doing. I've been sitting watching it for years. Exactly what they're doing in this country. We have been absolutely, totally annihilated in this country. Our rights are gone. There's no rights anymore. Human rights, they're just an illusion, folks. They're just an illusion that they do well to disguise and promote that you have human rights. But then when you go to get your human rights, they're not there. It's like your adverts for lawyers and etc, 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 and then you don't realise you can get a lawyer. And you go in and you can't get one. And you realise it's just all a sham. But it takes a case like this to expose it as a sham, as Nicola Sturgeon said. We voted for Nicola Sturgeon in the back of her speeches. I heard her, I've watched her, listened to her. Social justice and democracy, Nicola Sturgeon said. I said, great. Social justice and democracy, great, Nicola. That's when we're voting in. To the changeover, wasn't it? And then she said, every child deserves the best start in life. Bishop turned her. I said, great, brilliant. Some start in life my sister got, wasn't it? 6 months old and destroyed. That was the end of her life. Brain damage from drug testing and vaccines behind my mother's back. And she's turning her back on us. So, people, I care for your children. And I want you to care as well as you do. I want you to care for me, Michelle. I want you to want justice for her. Because she is a human being. You only get one life. Life is priceless, isn't it? To see your child grow up and develop, to be happy, and etc, etc, to do things that we do, and they took that away from her. Because they thought we own her. You don't own your children. You'll never own your children. But for as long as the streets are quiet, folks, and everything's going the way that it is and continuing, then that will happen. So I think it's time now that we have now entered that definitive line. For our people, I think it's time now that we stood up. The time has now come, folks, and I ask you and everyone else to join me in the streets as we banish this named person. And imagine 100,000 people, or even 5,000, doesn't matter. But can you imagine? Is she Nicola Sturgeon going to ignore us? Is she going to ignore thousands and thousands of people handing her a dossier of child abuse on a child for more than 20 years? Is she going to ignore it? I don't think she's going to ignore it, folks. But I need the people. I need the people to take to the streets with me. But not just for Michelle, for every children. You don't honour the children, folks. You want these state agents and stooges coming to your door and just walking into your home. Because if you sit behind your door and you're very scared, you've got to realise that that's not your home anymore. It's actually a prison cell. That's exactly what it is. It's nothing but a prison cell when tyranny's installed. You don't have freedoms, you have owners. Well, I think it's time that we stood up because you don't own your children anymore. So, thank you for listening, people. Scotland, Glasgow concerned families, join me and we'll stand and we'll rise and we'll get our children free. I'd like to share Free Michelle 2016. And the evidence is on there, and if there's one or two things that you aren't sure about, then you can tell me. Now you understand the Glasgow Housing Association involvement in child kidnapping. And the videos are on there and free Michelle. Take time, your spare time to listen, but don't be too long, because we have to get the ball rolling, folks, before they implement tyranny that's coming in August. We don't have a lot of time, because they're already starting it just now, so let's blow it away. As for anyone that knows the roadshow, would like to contact me, anyone who's running that roadshow, and we'll have our own discussion about we want to take this catalogue of abuse and go and end the named person. Because I love every child. I care for them, doesn't matter who is, they're human beings. Just like myself, just like Michelle, she's a wee human being. But they didn't think so, they thought it was a laboratory rat specimen. That's all she was. She was nothing to this system. That's the reason why they destroyed her. Because they required her brain for drug testing. It's nice, isn't it, folks? It's very nice, isn't it? People that we trusted Mr. Quidman, and I trusted ended up with the abuse of her daughter by the people who were meant to trust in this system. So, I've said my piece for now, folks. Share Free Michelle 2016 on Facebook, watch the videos. Share and share and share. Name person. Yes, we've got to end this. We've got to take to the streets. Let's banish this, folks. Let's end the named person. Because these people are not fit for purpose to come into our homes. The Scottish Government are not fit to make decisions for their children. They always protect doctors that destroy children. So, for now, I'll go. Very shortly, we're going to have to get the ball rolling, folks. Spread it out, spread the word. Expecting mothers, etc., etc. Because a lot of people out there have not got a clue about the named person. Will not have a clue about what it really means. It's tyranny in the back door. It means it's staple on your child. That's what it means. You'll have altered your child with the NHS, that's true. And it's when you start to realise you don't opt out, there's no opt out on it. It's tyranny, it's state tyranny. There's no opt out on it. You want to straight now on your child. They thought you onto her 20 years ago, didn't they, obviously? Find the child, destroy, move on it. They're acting as though you're on a way abducting her. Absolute state tyranny. But that's a special case, that's vaccines without consent, premeditation to destroy a human life. That's how they stop the lawyers. But when they come to take your children, folks, they'll have warrants from courts if you object to anything, because they'll just use that against you. You're not acting in the best interest of the child. So is that in the best interest of my sister, Nicola Sturgeon? Is that in the best interest of her to receive toxic vaccines, Nicola? Now you're a lawyer, Nicola, aren't you? Same with you, Dugdale. You're a lawyer. So you know corruption when you see it. So you can read and read and you can look at it yourself. Because I'm going to have as many people as I can come. And I hope to God that I have found the people for me, Michelle, and the future children. It's not just Michelle, it's for everybody, it's for everybody's children in the future. And let's go and see Nicola Sturgeon and co. And let's have this dossier of abuse, system abuse by DWP, Glasgow Housing Association, East Renfrewshire Council, Glasgow City Council, DWP, NHS, Police Scotland. The documents are on there from Police Scotland. They're an absolute insult to my intelligence. But you've got to remember, she didn't want to send them out, Angela Carter, East Renfrewshire, obviously. She didn't want to send that document out. But the reason why she was forced to send it out, because obviously they knew we didn't have a lawyer, because they controlled the lawyers. So there wasn't a lawyer's letter going to be dropping in Carty's office anytime soon. Don't expect the Police Independent Review Commission, folks, to deal with your, obviously this is a special case, obviously. The Police Independent Review Commission all for our next prosecutors. And they're all on the hands and they're all corrupt. Now you've got to understand these MPs in the Scottish Parliament, they ain't like us, folks. They're nothing like us, but they come down to our level. Sometimes, don't they, for a few selfies and cuddles with the public, don't they, as all they care for us? They don't care for us, they care nothing for us. And they get paid astronomical amounts of money, don't they? to doing a losing no job. They're doing their job fine, they're inflicting tyranny on us, that's what they're doing, that's what they're paid to do. But they've got to disguise it and everybody saying that they're one of us, and sometimes they come down to their level and say, I'm like you, I'm exactly like you, I've got the same interests as you, they don't live like us folks. They don't eat like us, they don't live like us, and they don't think like us. These people get paid lots of money, and why do we get paid nothing? You know, working class in this country getting shafted. You know what I mean? We're in a system here. Can you imagine thinking about it, folks? We're in a system at the moment that doesn't even want to give you £73.60 a week to live on. They want to sanction that off, they don't want to live on even that. But they still care for you because they'll give you a food bank to drop by. Oh, you're not going to let the staff will take your money for being 5 seconds late for an interview at the DWP. We're taking your money off you. So you've got nothing to live on. But it's okay, you can go to the food bank. It's alright, we'll not make you starve. See, that's a parachute designed that way. It's not a coincidence. What you've got to understand, folks, is I've seen it for long enough. Everything that this government bring into this country, it's not for your benefit. It's not for us, it's not for the people's benefit, it's for their benefit. Just like the job centre, you're not allowed in. You're not allowed into the job centre with the person that's going in to make the claim. See, if you go in with your daughter or son, you've got to stand outside or again. You think about that. Think about that very, 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 very closely. Think. That's one they're brought in, not for us. Data protection act's a sham. Right? If they can check your bank accounts, they can check everything about you. And they can sell your details to third parties. That's not data protection, is it? It's an absolute contradiction to the whole legislation. That's a sham also. But everything they bring in, just remember, is not for their benefit. You must remember that. You've got to understand that these people don't care for you and don't care for your children. As it's clearly proven here today with Ahmed, you don't care for your children. When you can sit and condone this and protect the people who've done this to this wee human being. So, for now, I'll go. But I will be back soon. And I want you to share this footage. I want you to share it among your family. I want you to tell about Free Michelle 2016. I want everybody that's against the numb person. I want us all to come together. Because I think we've passed that definitive line now. We can't possibly sit anymore and let them steamroll us. Not just me, but the people. You, I, everywhere else. So hopefully we'll wake this public up there. Hopefully we'll finally wake up. Hopefully we'll have the same crowd that you'd see at Hampden Park for Scotland home games. 46,000 or more sitting wearing solitaires because they're kicking a bag of air about singing Scotland the Brave. That's not for me. I'd like to see 46,000 people out in the streets shouting about the safety for the future of their children. That's what I would like to see. I'm more concerned with that. I'm more concerned with the future of us and the future of the people and their children. Because what's it going to be like here, folks? This place is dying. This country's in its knees. What's it going to be like in the next 10 or 15 years? What's it going to be like? Just imagine how hard it is now for people out there. You're just getting to the point you either eat or eat. Is that a system that cares about you? Mass poverty in the country. Children, luckily if they can eat, councils taking away your right to free food in the morning for your children. They're making it harder with doubling the price. It's not a system that cares for you, folks. It doesn't care for you. As George Carlin would say, it doesn't care for you. It's brilliant. You know, and that's true. It don't care for you. I don't know how many things they've got to do before you actually realise that they don't care for you. You've got to start waking up. Because if Nicola Sturgeon cared for my sister, the abuse of her, she would have dealt with us. But she turned her back. For now, she turned her back. But will she turn her back in the whole city, as I said? So you're going to take strength. We'll get somewhere. But we've got to unify. Stop staying asleep. We've got to start waking up for your children, your future children. And now's the time, folks, that we do wake up. So, thank you for listening. I'll say goodbye for now. have a nice day, Scotland, people of Glasgow, people of Scotland. Hopefully I'll see you soon. Hello and goodbye to my fellow Anonymous members. And I thank you for the support of my close friends and social record site friends and fellow Anonymous members. This child has no voice. They took that voice. I ask you to be a voice for me, Michelle. I ask you to be a voice for her, held against her will, because the state think that they own a vaccine damaged child that they drug tested on. I want you to think about that, people. I want you to think that's not acceptable. That could have been my child. That's what I want you to think. I don't want it to happen again. So please, wake up. Be a voice for her and get out in that street.